What's going on, guys? Aaron Goldson here. So I wanted to make kind of an extra video on appraisals of phones, just to kind of go over some tips, just because I get a lot of questions, to be honest, with people who are who have questions about appraisals. I'd say in probably the last week and a half, I've probably gotten, I don't know, maybe a dozen or 8, 10, 12 coaching students. So one of the reasons I wanted to make all these videos was to take kind of a lot of the most questions I get and put them into a video form, and then things that I think might help benefit certain people the most, put those in video as well. So it does a couple things. A, it saves me some time, and then B, anyone can watch this video. You can watch this video at any point in time. So if I'm out getting a phone or I'm out sleeping or whatever, you can just watch this video and get the information. So let's talk about appraising. So appraising, guys, there are phrases that we want to use when we're appraising. So let's go ahead and write these down. Let's see. So when you appraise an item, guys, obviously appraising means that when you get a phone and you get the details of the phone, we're going to get what phone it is, what problems it is, what carrier it is. Then we are going to look that up on eBay. And the more words you can look up, so there's a pendulum, I guess you could call it. The more words you look on eBay and type it in, the more accurate it is, but usually the less and less results you get. So there's a few parts of what we want to talk to when we appraise, or what we want to type in when we appraise. The first thing is we want to look at what the phone is. So if it's like an iPhone 7 Plus or an iPhone X, right? That'd be a phone, or maybe a Note 8, Samsung Note 8. So we went the phone. The second thing you want to type in is any problems it has. Locked, bad ESN, cracked, no power, stuff like this. Then how many gigabytes? How many gigabytes? Then possibly the color. But these are the main three we want. The phone, any problems it has, and how many gigabytes. So, and when we're appraising, guys, I'm usually only getting the kind of phone it is, if there's any problems, and then I'm going to assume the lowest gigabyte. Now, we talked about before, sometimes what I'll do, guys, is if I need to get more, if I need to create more, I just need this and then I quote it. Now, if they want more, so this is a perfect example. I mean, 10 minutes ago, a guy said he had an iPhone 6. It was unlocked, and he said he got it right from the Apple Store. It was unlocked, and everything worked. So I typed in iPhone 6, 16 GB, bad ESN. He didn't like the money, and I tried to use some persuasion stuff. I said, well, what were you looking to get for it? He said, I offered him $150. He wanted $250. And it was for actually a couple phones, but this was one of them, $250. And I said, well, I can't do that. I tell you what, would you meet me in the middle at $200? That's something else I say, right? If I can meet them in the middle, or I can meet them, because usually I offer a little bit less, just so I can usually offer $20 or $30 more if I need to and still make at least $50 in profit. So with this guy, I just lowball him a little bit more. So I said, I tell you what, if you meet me in the middle at $200, you have a deal. He didn't like $200, so we couldn't come to terms. It came down to $225, but I'll probably hit him up tomorrow and follow up with him. Meet me in the middle. So I typed in iPhone 6, 16 GB, bad ESN. And then he said it came from the Apple Store. And then he said, I asked him, I said, how much do you want for it? He said $250. I said, well, let's see. I said, how many gigabytes does it have? And he said 32. And then I said, which carrier is it with? It was something along the lines of this conversational thread I'm going over here. And he goes, it's unlocked. It's from the Apple Store. It's from the Apple Store. It's unlocked. So instead of an iPhone 6, 16 GB, bad ESN, I quoted it as an iPhone 6, 32. Now, he didn't have the receipt. He said it was bought out. He didn't have the receipt. So if he had the receipt and it was bought out, I would have done it as a clean ESN. Just to be safe, I quoted it as a bad ESN. But guys, because it wasn't a 16 and it was a 32, 32 gigabyte, I can get more money. And it was unlocked from the Apple Store. Unlocked. I still did. Guys, sometimes you might have gotten training where it says like, you know, if it's AT&T or Verizon or the Apple Store to do clean ESN. If it's a newer phone or I have any doubt whatsoever, I always just do bad ESN just to be safe. And I still get returns, but not as many as I should probably get just because it's, you know, if they got an iPhone, if they got the iPhone X or a phone that just came out in the last 6 months, even if it's Verizon or AT&T and the IMEI is clean, I usually just quote it as bad just to be safe. Just because, you know, they could, you know, do an insurance claim on the phone. You know, you could give them $400 for the phone. Then they do an insurance claim for $175 or whatever it is. They pocket the difference, and then the phone you got goes bad ESN. That doesn't happen all the times, guys, and you don't necessarily have to follow what I'm doing. I'm just kind of sharing with you what I'm doing. So I quoted it as this, and I was able to create more money from the phone through it. But he still didn't like the price, but that was that. But sometimes, guys, you can do this and create more money. So let's go ahead and look this up, guys. Now, there are certain phrases. So let's talk about this. When you look up a phone and you appraise it, I use the most basic terminology to get the most results. So let me give you an example. If you type this in, Apple iPhone X, is that going to get more results, or is iPhone X going to get more results? iPhone X will get you more results because some people who have listed their stuff and have sold it will not put Apple, they'll just put iPhone X. Same thing with the Note. If I'm going to look up like a Note 8, instead of doing Samsung Galaxy Note 8 and trying to appraise it like that, I just type in Note 8. Because that will pull up the same stuff and you'll get more results because some people will just list it as Note 8. Or they'll list it as Samsung Note 8 or Galaxy Note 8, but this will still pull all the results. Then let's do 64 GB. And then if it's a cracked screen, guys, the terminology people use the most is cracked. You know, sometimes they'll put cracked screen, sometimes they'll just put cracked. So I just search for cracked because that will pull up everyone that listed it as cracked screen and everyone that listed it as cracked, so I have the most amount of results to look at, the most amount of listings that have sold to go through, so I can get a very accurate representation about what I want to list, what I want to quote it at. If it's locked, right, activation locked, or iCloud locked, or it has the iTunes screen, I just look all those up as locked. And some people, you want to be careful buying these because, of course, there can be a higher chance that these could be stolen. But guys, if they sign the bill of sale, I buy it. I mean, I bought at least a dozen iCloud locked phones since I started doing this, 4 months ago. Now, if someone had like 20 iCloud locked phones, maybe I'd get a little nervous. But I had one guy who said he had like 50 of them, and they were older models. They were like 5S's, and he said he had like a contract to get them from like an army database, and people turn them in after they've used it for 3 years, and sometimes they don't remove their stuff. So, I quoted him, and he wanted a fine price for it, so I quoted it to him. But then as soon as I said, "Hey, I'm going to fill out a bill of sale," then he didn't want to meet up. So, that was that. Even though I'm not even sure where you would get 50 iCloud locked 5S's anyway. But that's that, guys. And then cracked screen is like that. If it's an LCD, right, a bad LCD, a cracked LCD, just type in LCD. LCD will pull up all of that. And then, let's see, what else is there? Cracked, no power, right? If it's no power, just no power. Now, let me ask you a question, right? If a customer says, I have an iPhone 6S Plus that has, it's a 128 gigabyte and it's no power, I'm going to quote that as a 6S Plus, no power, 16 GB locked. Why am I going to do that? Because if it has no power, guys, and the phone doesn't turn on, there's no way for me to see if it has a lock on it or not. So I'm going to have to assume the worst. They're going to say it's 128 GB. I'm going to assume it's 16 GB because that's the lowest it could have, and there's no way for me to verify it's 128 GB, so I will assume the worst. You always assume the worst. If you can't physically see something with your eyes and verify it, you must assume the worst. I went to there's this connection I made of this guy that has like a cell phone store, and I bought a lot of phones from him before. And he had a 7 Plus. This was before the 8s came out. He had a 7 Plus, great condition, no power. It didn't turn on. So I said, hey, I could give you $80 for it. And he goes, it's a 7 Plus. It doesn't turn on. I said, yeah, it doesn't turn on, which means I have to assume it's iCloud locked, bad ESN, the lowest gigabyte. And he laughed a little bit because he knew I was right. He sold it to me for $80, and then I listed it for $160 as a 7 Plus, 32 GB, no power, iCloud locked, bad ESN, and it sold within a few hours. Okay, and guys, I see some people and they're getting into too much detail. They'll be like, well, is there a way for me to try to turn the phone on or clean out the water if it's water damage? Or guys, if I bought it in the worst condition at $80, just list it as the worst condition. If you do it right and you appraise it right, it will still sell. People ask me, Aaron, what kind of phones don't you buy? I don't buy phones that I can't appraise them for, or they're just too shitty, right? A lot of times if you get a phone that costed $200 a couple of years, like a prepaid phone that was $200 a couple of years ago with a cracked screen, and let's say it's bad ESN, and we buy all prepaid as bad ESN, a lot of times I just can't make any money for it. You know, those phones might be going for $25, so what am I going to do? Offer $5, drive out to them, drive back, list it, sell it, ship it, make $10 in profit. It's just not worth it. I like to buy phones where I make money. The last phone I just bought today, guys, I bought a 6S Plus, Sprint, bad ESN cracked. I paid $50 for it. I just listed it for $180. I might have to lower the price tomorrow for $165, but it's going to sell around that price. Guys, I made $100. And I lowball a little bit because, hey, I could have came up a little bit, right? I could have probably came up, to be honest with you, to about $80 or $90, and I was still done the deal. But nowadays, guys, I like to lowball a little bit because, A, when I get deals like this, I'm making $100 a pop, right? And then, you know, the worst case is I can offer a little bit more. So when we're appraising, let's go ahead and look at this. So this is what I'm going to do. This shows you kind of my results. So if I'm looking at an iPhone 7 Plus, I'm going to do 7 Plus, 32 GB, Sprint, bad ESN, crack. Now sometime, and now I'm going to click Sold Listings, which is on the bottom left-hand corner. So let's see, 7 Plus, so let's see, this is cracked. This is, and then I got a piece of paper next to me on my desk. I always do this, even today. I write down what I see. So I didn't ask for the color, so let's see. $250 is what this one sold for. Now this one is cracked, but this is cracked LCD, so I'm assuming that's another problem, so I'm going to ignore that. We want to find 3 of the same item of exactly what we're going after. So if the customer says they have a 7 Plus Sprint cracked phone, then I know I'm going to appraise it as a 7 Plus, 32 GB, Sprint, cracked, bad ESN. Because Sprint we always buy is bad ESN. That's what I'm going to tie up into the search. Alright, and then look, here's one right here, bad ESN cracked, 248. And I like to look at the dates. Now, I'm making this on November 17th. This sold yesterday. This sold a few days before. They're different colors, and they're selling for around the same price. Oh, this is a gold one. This sold for $310. And this one, oh, silver. So this one sold for about $300. So I got a few of these guys. Oh, look, this one, all right. Yeah, this one sold for about $300. So it looks like it's going for $250 to $300. So I'm going to take the low middle of that. The low middle of $250 and $300 is $265. So I'm going to offer $165 is what I'm going to offer. I'm going to offer $165. Maybe I'll come up to $180, and that's that. So I would shoot the customer back an offer for $165. So see, I took the middle of it and offered the kind of the middle low between $250 and $300. $250 and $300 is $265. So that's what I do. And then if they can't come to terms on it, right, guys? So let's say I say, you know, awesome. I can give you $165 for it. Customer, I'll pass. This is how they talk, right? In messaging, you guys notice that we don't use sentences here. We just get all to the point. Me, well, what were you looking to get for it? Customer, 200. Me, what color is it? And the reason I'd ask this, guys, is sometimes certain colors pay more. Like sometimes a matte black or a jet black will go for like 20 or 30 more dollars than like the other color. So let's say the customer says matte black. So now I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna type in matte black, and I'm gonna see if I can create more money. All right, look, 300, 300. So these ones, the matte black ones, guys, are going for 300, around 300. See, these are going for about 290. So the other one I appraised it. The general one, the general 7 Plus, in the worst case scenario, is going for 265. Matte black is going for 300. So that means, guys, I pay up to 200 for it. So if the customer says 200, and for the matte black I can pay 200, I'm still going to lowball a little bit because I like to try to retain profit. Would you meet me in the middle at 185? Customer, about half the time they say, yeah, that's fine. Guys, sometimes the customers are a little tough. Customer, no, I really need 200. Well, guys, I know I can buy it at 200 and sell it for 300. Right? See, these are selling for 300. Yeah, this one, yeah, all day long selling for 300. So, and then we look at the date. So, and then sometimes what I do to really get an accurate appraisal. So this one sold November 9th. This one sold September. So this was a month before. I'll sometimes see what they're selling for now. iPhone 7 Plus Sprint, Bad ESN, Crack, Matte Black. So, see, sometimes they'll have a few, like there might be, if there was like one 7 Plus 32 GB Sprint, Bad ESN, Crack, Matte Black, and sometimes there might be one that will have like, they'll be listed for 330, and it's got 9 watchers. So I know if I buy it at 200 and I list it for 300, because it has 9 people watching it, if there was one here that had like 9 people watching it, then I know that it's a hot item and it hasn't quite sold yet for 330. So there's a very good chance I'll get 300 for it. So at that point, I'm willing to offer 200. No, I really need 200, me. And I'll be like, okay, that's fine. So guys, now I am falling into the customer's frame. I am now, instead of being in charge, the customer's in charge. But that's okay. All right, we had to work out a deal. As long as I can make money, guys, I'm okay like going to the customer's price. As long as I can make money. It's not like I got an ego and I'm like, well, fuck it, I got to get my price. No, if I can offer 200 and, you know, I can make it work out to, and sometimes I can't work it out, guys. I mean, you only got to close 15%. But if I can work it out and that's all good, no problem, we do it. Okay, fine. When would you like to meet? And then I would go from there, right? So I'd go and I'd go get the phone. So that's a little strategy, guys. Something else I like to do is I like to look at the dates. Now, Samsung and Galaxy phones that are 4 years old and newer, ones that are in good condition, bad ESN ones. Bad ESN is the universal term on eBay. It's not bad IMEI. So you want to type in bad ESN. That's what you want to use. But anything that's like a bad ESN or a cracked screen or even a cracked screen bad ESN or stuff like that that's kind of common, those sell a lot, iPhones and Samsungs. Now, I bought an LG G6 cracked bad ESN phone once. And I typed it in, guys, and I'm under sold, and there was only one that was sold, and it sold for 200. So I offered 100, I bought it for 100, I listed it for 200, and after a week, after dropping the price, I sold it for 150. I like to list the item, and if it doesn't sell in 24 hours, I drop the price by $5 to $10 every day, usually. Usually. The only time I don't is if it's in like a phone that it's not real popular, but it's starting to get a lot of watches. If it's getting a lot of I don't care about views, I care about watches. Watches is what's going to make it sell. When it starts getting a lot of watches right away, that's when you know it's going to sell. So I bought it for Now, why did I have to drop this one down to 150? One sold for 200. I listed it for 200. I had to drop it for 150 because only one sold. You want to find at least 3. See, if only one sold, that usually tells you it's not that popular. And if none of them sold, it's really not that popular. And then you want to lowball real hard. one sold. So because only one sold, it wasn't that popular. So I bought it for 200, and I had to keep dropping the price down. So if you ever run across that scenario, like I bought a, it was like a 128 GB bad ESN. It was like, I don't know if it was AT&T or Sprint, AT&T phone, and I offered like $350, and I saw them selling for like $550. But there was only two that I saw that sold. One sold like a month ago, and the other one sold a few months ago. So I bought it for $350, and I only ended up selling it for $450. I only ended up selling it for $400. So I broke even on it. I didn't even make any money because the $50 that was made was just eBay and shipping fees and shit. Might have even lost a few bucks because it was spaced out. If there's only a couple that have sold, guys, and they're spaced out, right? One sold last month, the one sold the month before. Usually every single month, every time there's a new month, usually usually what is paid for the item will drop a little bit. It might drop 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks. Sometimes it doesn't, but you want to assume that, especially if you're looking at stuff that's a few months ago, because phones are consistently going down in value, and as new iPhones and Samsungs come out every year, all the other ones are going down on value, and on eBay they're slowly dropping. Now, not all the time. Like I saw iPhone 7 32 GBs, they stayed at, you know, around like $350 for a few months, and then they dropped a little bit, and the 8s come out, and they dropped a little bit. So it's not all the time, but it's something to assume. And you always want to assume the worst and quote the worst. So one time I had an iPhone 6, and it had the, what's it called? I think is it the digitizer? It's not the digitizer. The thing where it makes the screen wasn't going bright. It was on the lowest setting. So I couldn't find anything to appraise it at, so I looked it up, and I couldn't find anything to appraise it at. It was in good condition, so I just quoted it as a bad ESN. I think like no power or something, and I offered him, I thought it would sell for around $150. I offered him 20 bucks. Okay. He took it. I listed it as $150. I eventually had to keep dropping the price down till $80. And it sold for $80, but because I lowballed it so much, because there wasn't anything to compare it to, you just make a super low offer. I bought it for $20, I sold it for $80, I still made, you know, 60 bucks, and then there's shipping and fees. Still made like 45 bucks. Right? If I didn't do that, I would have been in this situation right here, and would have lost money. So that's just some strategies when you're appraising, guys. And there's no need to overthink this, and there's no need to you just get real good at appraising. Just start quoting, especially if you're quoting iPhones or Samsungs. You know, shit, if you type in Samsung, let's do a Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus bad ESN crack. So I'm going to type it in here. Now, if that's the phone, I'm going to type in S8 Plus, right? That's the essence of the phone, 64 GB. Let's do T-Mobile bad ESN crack. That's the phrases that's going to pull up the most. And then we say, let's see this one. This is 4 parts only. Now it's cracked. Is the LCD bad, or is it just cracked? And is the back cracked? We're going to assume on the one we're working on, just the front's cracked. S8 Plus bad ESN, the front's cracked. Has cracked screen with bad ESN. I know there are ways, but I don't have the time. Perhaps you can do it and make some money. No reserve, your loss, my gain. So we're going to write that down. 180. Because there was shipping, so 180. This looks like it might be. Let's look at this. S8 Plus, damage, has cracked screen. The screen does not respond to touch in some areas, so we're going to assume ours does respond to touch. These look like they might be bad LCD. So here we go, S8 Plus. See, that guy's smart. Is that me? No, it's not me, but he put the model number. See, I like that, guys. So let's make sure, just sometimes the back is cracked. Cracked front and back cover, so both this is cracked. So we're going to assume we just need one that just has a cracked front. Damn, that one's cracked in the front and back too. So let's see. This might be it, because this is a little bit higher, right? We're going to be smart about this. If all these that are around 180 to 200 are bad ESNs, and they're cracked front and back or cracked in LCD, we want to look for ones a little bit more. There we go, 265. Oh, 275. Cracked, bad ESN. So let's see. Cracked screen, bad ESN, light image burn, Cracked screen, bad ESN, slight image burn. Cracked front glass, you see this is all cracked. So, So I'm thinking I'm going to be safe and say 240, but let me go look at the current listings. So let's see if I can find bad ESN, cracked. Now let's look at this one, and let's see if there's any watchers. 6 people are watching it, cracked corner of the screen, can't be connected to the T-Mobile network, but it's just a cracked corner. It's not the full screen that's cracked, right? So sometimes, guys, like just a little small cracked corner will sell for a little bit more than a full cracked screen. Back is clean. This is sound, so I'm going to say on the one that's got a full cracked screen about 240. I'm going to be real safe and offer 120, and I'll probably go up to 150, but I'm not going to go up more than that. That's what I did. So you see my thinking? When in doubt, you always quote a little bit less. Always quote a little bit less when in doubt. But when not in doubt, if you can find something you can really compare it to, right? You know, there's nothing wrong with making a solid offer and coming up to a good price. So that's how I appraise. Now let me give you a tip when you're using your phone. If you're using your phone, you don't want to go through the eBay app. You want to go through the internet. Go through the internet, type in eBay, because through the eBay app, I haven't found a way to check sold listings. I've only found a way to check sold listings through the internet app. So I appraise all the time. I'll be driving and get a phone, and I'm not supposed to be on my phone, and I appraise right there on my phone. Sold listings. You shouldn't, obviously, text and drive or offer up and drive, but, I do it. Through the internet app, you go to eBay, and then it will let you select sold listings. Now, let me give you a little hint. On eBay, through the computer, if you check sold listings and you type in something else, iPhone X, bad ESN, the sold listings will stay checked. If you do it through the internet and you select sold listings, it will show you all the sold listings. Then if you type in a new phone and you select search, you have to re-select sold listings because it will automatically show you non-sold listings. And I messed up once by doing this. I learned this the hard way. I bought it. I appraised an item. I thought it would stay checked. It wasn't showing me the sold listings. It started showing me the ones that were listed. So I bought it and I sold it for about I lost 20 or 30 bucks or whatever. So just make sure when you're going through the internet to eBay, ebay.com, you type it in and there's you'll see it. There's a thing that you can swipe that will show you sold listings. Then when you recheck another item in and you hit search, you have to go back and reselect sold listings. Hopefully this helps. See you on the next video.